What's up? Welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of Macklemore's third album, Ben, named after his given name, Ben. Macklemore's first album in over 5 years. It's been a minute since we heard from him. I think there's a lot to unpack with this one, both the album itself as well as Macklemore just in general. And even though he hasn't made new music in a while, and he has said that the pandemic contributed to that, he has been around. Like, he opened up for Imagine Dragons last year, which I think kind of speaks to like the push pull of Macklemore, where recently touring with one of the biggest pop rock radio groups we have these days, Macklemore was catering to his pop fandom and his general fandom, and that's always been at odds with Macklemore's ability and clear interest in being a more traditional rapper and student of hip hop. And that is incredibly evident once again on Ben as the record. That kind of push pull that Macklemore has faced sonically. Uh, and I just find that quite interesting. Macklemore is 39 now. He's incredibly wealthy and secure in his future. He has three children. But, during COVID, he did relapse, and he gets into that on his album. Of course, Macklemore's substance abuse struggles throughout his life has been a big component of his lyrical subject matter in his music. And, on the other hand, I think when Macklemore gets away from those clearly personal, clearly very specific things he can talk about regarding himself, it's where he kind of starts to lose me when it's like that more, uh, positive outlook music. I think ultimately at the end of the day, Macklemore he's made corny music for a while, and sometimes those are big smashes, and there's nothing wrong with those songs. But those songs were made with Ryan Lewis. People know this. 10 years ago, Macklemore is not working with Ryan Lewis anymore, and I think nowadays the Macklemore pop music you get, much like the Macklemore pop music we got 5 years ago on his second album, Gemini, it's just kind of corny, cheesy stuff, and it's just not interesting music to me. And there was a few brief moments of Macklemore, you know, backpacking, getting back to his old ways as a rapper on Ben. I was like, oh yeah, it's still there. But like the push pull with having to serve multiple masters in terms of his audience was so evident. And I think just right off the bat, track one, Chant. God, that is a corny song. That chorus is just so grating. Like, I just can't stand it. It just kind of beats you over the head with it in terms of its, cheeriness. It's just frustrating to hear a song like that. The next song right after that, No Bad Days. Again, it's really cheesy. It has no bite at all. And I don't know, I thought of Kids Bop when I heard that. And then right after that, you get something that's really cool and inspired in 1984. It's very conceptual. You have Macklemore's kind of rapping persona come out, very reminiscent of old songs like Irish Celebration in terms of a more like aloof, you know, actions and persona. It's just much more interesting than the radio shit. You know, Maniac, pop rap, acoustic guitar line, but just like super mad lyrics. It's like I just think none of that stuff is special at all. Day You Die with Fantagram, just corny. Like, I'm sorry. Um, but right after that, you have this really sick three-track run. You have Heroes featuring DJ Premier doing the scratches. He didn't produce it, but he did the scratches. Mac talking about uh, his reverence for hip hop, and Macklemore's always been a student of the game. And after everything happened with Kendrick Lamar at the Grammys, Macklemore followed that up with the Unruly Mess I've Made, which was a backpacker, dusty boom bap rap album. Macklemore's like, hey, like I am about this rap shit, and he is a student of hip hop, and he's felt the need to make that shit clear, right? And it's fun when he just kind of makes songs in that mold again, like Heroes, like the next song, Grime, which has a buckshot reference to one of his older tracks. But the storytelling on that song is really fun too. The track right after that, I Need, kind of getting into his sneakerhead ability, talking about dropping day ones and kind of just like lampooning like baller, like traditional like rap culture and stuff like that. I think those three songs sound good. They're dusty. and Macklemore sounds really inspired on those. Those are the three best songs on the album to me. That's like the most interesting section of this. The song right after that, you have Faithful featuring NLE Choppa. Macklemore kind of talking about the pandemic and what led him to relapse in a certain sense. But the NLE Choppa feature is just so random to me. Like obviously he had to buy that, and I don't know, it just like of all the people to pull in, it just feels like a very odd fit to me. At least when he had Offset on Willy Wonka on Gemini in 2017, like getting an Offset feature in 2017. Obviously, no one's arguing with making that choice, but NLE of all people, not that NLE doesn't have his merits, but like just feels like a weird fit with Macklemore, especially the 2023. I don't know about that one. Um, yeah, I thought Lost slash Sun Comes Up was really two tracks. Um, Mac talks about, I think it's on the second song, Sun Comes Up. He talks about like what would happen if he died, like how would people talk about him on social media, who would send out the RIPs and stuff. Interesting premise, right? I think he is a good enough storyteller to get into something like that. I thought that was pretty interesting too. But other than that, nothing really stood out to me. Murray, I guess it's an inspired poll. Shout out Murray, shout out Dreamville. But yeah, overall, it's like I think Macklemore, when he doesn't get in his own way, as kind of like a incredibly transparent storyteller, he doesn't get in his own way, and when he doesn't lean in to the easy stuff the radio plays, he can still make really fun traditionalist rap songs, like he did on the Unruly Mess I Made, like he did a few times on Gemini, and like he did a few times on Ben. And I think there's not a whole lot more we can ask from him at this point. Again, he's just so secure in his life at this point. He hasn't been in the major label system ever. He's pretty much removed from the music industry, co-producing this whole record with one of his close confidants. Like he can do what he wants, and I just wish he felt more secure in not needing to do the more poppy stuff. And maybe that's what he wants to do, but I just don't think it's quite as good from obviously the highs of the stuff on the Heist, which then again shouldn't be too big of a shock. But that's how I feel. But let me know, how'd you feel about this? Were you even checking for Macklemore? It's been a while. Um, how'd you feel about Ben compared to maybe the more recent stuff post the Heist? Let me know. For more rap reviews, more music reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.